Greetings, mere mortals, and welcome to Monster Month, where we will be looking once again at monstrous toys from G.I. Joe's history.
And this month, we'll be focusing on the Manimals. This will require a brief history on what the Manimals actually were.
So, with great reluctance, I'm gonna hand it back to Timmer for just a bit.
Thank you for that ringing endorsement. Okay, remember the Lunatrix aliens? They were released in 1994 as part of Star Brigade. Thing is, they were only supposed to be the first wave of aliens. A second wave called Manimals were proposed, these being mutant aliens. Because why the hell not at that point? There were gonna be 12 figures. The prototypes were created, and even a few dozen carded versions were made. But then the whole G.I. Joe toy line was cancelled before they could come out. Several of these prototypes and carded figures did make it into the hands of collectors somehow, and today they fetch quite the price. Here's one put up for sale for $5,000 frickin' dollars, though at the time of this recording it hasn't sold. Another one did sell recently for the more reasonable sum of $919. And that was the end of it. A little toy line that never was. Until 2001, that is, when from the ashes they rose. The Manimal toys would be released, in different colors, as a KB Toys exclusive line. 6 of the original 12 were supposed to come out, but only 3 ever made it to retail, because this Manimals line was cancelled again. And there you have it, the Manimals. The little toy line that couldn't ever manage to get fully released, that is. I now return you to Spooky McSpookerson.
No, I'm not gonna rise to the bait. Let's talk about one of the toys that was released.
Meet Iguanus. This figure was released in 2001 with all original body parts. I think. Yeah, this mold is from 1994, but that version was never released, so does that make these body parts original or recycled?
They're both.
And my first impression is, well, you heard the theme song, right? This figure very much reminds me of a 50s camp spaceman or robot. He's got a nice color scheme that works well. It reminds me of the Motor Viper a lot, but it works even better on this figure. Honestly, it's a nice looking toy. The bottom of the helmet reminds me a bit of Baron Karza from Micronauts.
Now there's a blast from the past for you.
The detailing on this figure is very well done. All the dark blue parts have sculpted scales, and the middle of his chest even has a face.
Don't worry, we'll get to that soon enough.
He's also got some real muscle definition on his back, making him look like a powerful alien, or robot, whatever. One peculiar thing is that the top of the helmet looks like a cobra, while the Manimals have nothing to do with Cobra itself. Lastly, I want to give special mention to his boots, or sandals, I guess, assuming all the scaly dark blue is just his skin. Part of them are made from severed frickin' hands. I wish these things had some more paint applications to make them stand out, as they really add to the monstrousness of the figure.
I can't really comment on the accessories.
They're pretty generic space weapons. All in all, Iguanus is a pretty good figure. It's larger than a standard G.I. Joe toy, but since these are supposed to be space mutants, I don't really have a problem with that. But hey, wait a minute. There's one thing we haven't talked about yet. The thing that makes this guy a monster.
You see, there's more than meets the eye to Iguanus. That's not what I meant, and you know it.
I am talking about that face on his chest. You can tilt his head back, raising the torso, revealing that face has a mouth. It is both glorious and stupid. The way he looks, it kinda reminds me of the Street Sharks.
Bam! Another blast from the past for you.
The really nice thing is that both the lower jaw and even the tongue are articulated. That's some fine attention to detail. Which is why I'm puzzled that the chest cavity looks so unfinished. They should have given that the same dark blue scaly detail you see on the outside. The way it looks here is really distracting. Still, those razor-sharp teeth, that gruesome tongue that Gene Simmons would be jealous of. It all looks very monstrous. And, okay, I'll admit, pretty ridiculous too. The arm and knee articulation is the same as it was on the regular G.I. Joe figures. But the upper leg is a swivel joint, not a ball joint, so there's less movement there. The torso and head don't swivel to accommodate a mutant head gimmick. And that was the only toy of Iguanus ever released.
Obviously not counting the few prototypes floating around out there.
Overall, it's a nice enough figure, with the only detraction being that chest cavity. You know, by 1994, when this mold was created, they had a decade of experience with Transformers to not leave gaping holes like that. A pity, really.
Speaking of Transformers, it's time we talked about the character. It's gonna be the file card, mostly, I'm afraid.
And let's start with the name. This wasn't the first Hasbro action figure called Iguanus. There was a Transformer, a Pretender to be precise, who had the name in 1988. It was also an appropriately monstrous figure. The name was reused in 1996 for a Beast Wars toy.
Everything about this toy was recycled.
The mold is from 1994, the name is from 1988, and the action feature of a hidden monster head is not so much recycled as ripped off from the Ghostbusters toy line. By the way, the name conjures up images of an iguana, but the monster head reminds you more of an alligator or crocodile. So I would have gone for a different name here, like Killer Croc or something. What? G.I. Joe already had Flash?
DC Comics can only sue so much, I suppose.
Anyway, Iguanus is a bounty hunter. Because almost every damn alien in G.I. Joe was a bounty hunter. Seriously, somebody at Hasbro must have been really jealous of Star Wars at the time. He's not only a bounty hunter, but also an alien hunter and stellar stalker. Stellar stalker?
Really?
They sure went a long way for some alliteration there. Stalker should sue for copyright infringement. According to the file card, he was thought to be a myth, and the entire galaxy was shocked when he turned up.
So, does that make him Space Bigfoot or something?
He hunts giant creatures and eats them.
The card emphasizing he's a full-time meat eater. Of course, he doesn't seem to have a stomach, so I don't know how that works, but whatever. The card doesn't specify if any of these creatures he hunts and eats are sentient or intelligent, but those hands on his feet do have opposable thumbs. So yeah, this guy eats people. All that means I can safely say he's a nice gruesome addition to the G.I. Joe universe, even if he's an alien mutant. Though it is interesting to note that nowhere on the file card does it mention anything about G.I. Joe or Cobra. If that packaging didn't have the G.I. Joe logo on it, this could be from any toy line. That brings me back to that Cobra-like tip on his helmet. Now, this is just speculation, but maybe at one point during development in 1994, the Manimals were meant to have been created by Cobra, but their backstory was changed completely early in production. It's something to think about anyway. And that was Iguanus. All in all, not a bad toy, and not a bad start to Monster Month. I'll see you next time, mere mortals. And if you value your lives, you will like, share, and subscribe. What? Oh, since when is it a bad thing to threaten your viewers?